here's a building on the corner of Straszewskiego, and this is Groblatz. Plac na Groblatz. Here on the Plac na Groblatz is here. This street is Straszewskiego, and it leads you to the Wawel, the castle. And here to the left is, of course, the Planty. And then if you turn in, this is going into the direction of the old town, is that way. The actual Rinnick is that way, okay? Kind of get your bearings. Now, as you may remember, I used to live on this street. This is Florianska Street. I used to live here. I lived here for like several years, maybe 6-7 years. And on this side, this is my entrance side, and I had a balcony on the back, and I had neighbors who I would say hello to. It was an old man, old couple, and later he told my Polish wife that I was the only guy in like 40 years, I was the only person who ever said hi to him from the balcony. Okay, amazing. Anyhow, he lives in a Jewish-owned building, and I don't know what the situation is there, but I know for a fact that this building, this white building, number 10, when I lived here, and for the last almost 10 years that I was here in Krakow, it basically was empty. There was like one person living in one of the apartments. It was totally run down, kind of like how this one looks now. And this is the same situation. This corner property here, number 12, Florianska, I believe is number 12, yeah, has been like this ever since I came to this country. So for over 10 years. Since 2002, really. So more than 10 years, 15 years. Actually, so since the war, it's been like this. Now finally here, starting about 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago in the summer, they started renovating this building, and it's going to be made into apartments, just like this one, this white building, number 10, is. Now, here's the thing. Most likely, now I'm a little bit speculating, but also a little bit based on fact, most of these buildings were owned by Jews prior to the beginning of the war. They were all killed, or they left the country. Now the guy, my neighbor that I told you, his building is in the back there. That Jew is still alive, and he's in Israel, and he's like 89 years old or whatever. And I don't know what the situation is. They're allowed to live there. They pay rent, and but under Polish law, they can't be kicked out because they have residency there, paperwork that says that they live there, so they can't be kicked out. Something along those lines. If they move out, then they can be replaced, what have you, but as long as they're living there, they can't be kicked out. I know that in my building, in fact, there was a guy, he lived on the ground floor, this apartment that probably was not renovated since probably 1949, and his bathroom was actually across the hallway, the actual public hallway. He had to leave his apartment, go across the hallway to a bathroom. He refused to leave that apartment for the whole time that I was there, and then until recently, a few years, many years ago, I guess, 5 years ago, let's say, he finally moved out. But he was able to live in that apartment and not be kicked out. And I guess the landlord who owned the whole kamenitsa, they call these kamenitsas, couldn't kick him out and couldn't raise his rent or whatever. Maybe there's some small, every year he can maybe raise it some small amount, maybe 3% or something like that. But once those people moved out, word on the street is that they bought themselves a really nice apartment because, the 10, 15 years that they were living there, they saved up all their money and were able to buy a sweet apartment. And then the owner renovated his apartment and let his elderly father live there because his elderly father was up on a higher floor, like the 3rd floor, and now it's more comfortable for him to live on the 1st floor, the ground floor, what we call ground floor, or they call it the partner in Poland. So now, getting back to this building. So my assumption is that some old Jew either died or gave permission finally to allow this building to be renovated. Now, here's what's important is that these buildings, since the war, have been in this dilapidated condition. No one has been living there. No one has been paying taxes. No one has been paying rent. The city has been basically subsidizing these buildings for the last 70 years through all of communism, okay? Now, what does that mean? I mean, it means that the city's been losing money. Now, when these apartments, these white buildings, these were for sale over 1 million zlotys per apartment. You're right here in front of the Planty. You're half a block from the castle. This is prime real estate location. I thought about buying an apartment there, but it made no sense because my rent just 2 doors down was a fraction. It was like a fraction of the cost of one of these apartments, which would have been unfurnished. You'd have to furnish, unfinished, and unfurnished, of course, unfinished for the most part. Maybe the walls were spackled and Maybe it was, so maybe that's semi-finished. I don't want to speak out of school. Maybe it looked like the walls maybe were finished. But I don't know if they had heating system in there or radiators. Maybe not, I don't know. But anyways, it would be a huge, huge investment, and at the time I had no money, really, to put into something like that. Great location, but I don't want to spend that much money. Anyhow, getting back to this building, this probably a good 14, 15 apartments, and then the upper deck here, they added a top floor, basically a penthouse, sort of suites looking thing here. These apartments, when they are sold, because they probably will be sold, will generate good money for the developer. Obviously tax revenue for the city, and continuing ongoing tax revenue for the city. And that's a good thing. But for the last 70 years, these apartment buildings that have been abandoned by their owners, or stuck in some kind of legal limbo, have been unable to be renovated until very recently. Like I said, this white building that was a couple years ago, it's now a white building. It used to look something like this, you know, just run down. And now this building here on the corner, prime location, are now being able to be renovated. So do the Jews still control Krakow? These Jews have been controlling this part of the real estate market for 70 years, since the war. So think about that. And why have they been resisting development? I'm not blaming all Jews. I'm not blaming even most Jews, but there's a few Jews who had a great life here in Poland. It wasn't the Polish people who took that life away. It was the Germans, it was the Nazis who did that. So, you know, it's part of history. Shit happened. But if we look at what's happening today, the same sort of genocidal policies that the Nazis had against the Jews, the government of Israel is perpetrating against the Palestinians. The people the indigenous people, call them the native peoples of this area, that area in Palestine. So, you know, if you're gonna be angry about this shit here, Jews, you should be not hypocritical about what's happening in Israel. I'm Holy Joe Rock and Roll, reminding you to always make it happen for the captain, because you're the mother effing captain. Peace.